Good evening and welcome to the Zoning Subcommittee of the Revere City Council for March 10th, 2025. Please rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk.
Roll call of the members. Councilor Argenzio?
Here.
Here. Councilor Guarino Sawaya?
Here.
Here. Councilor Jaramillo?
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky?
Here.
Here. And Chairman Zambudo?
Here.
Here. A quorum is present. First item on tonight's agenda is a zoning ordinance, further amending the zoning ordinances of the City of Revere, repealing the definition and use of mechanical parking systems.
Any councilors? No? Any members of the audience?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor
Michelle
Kelly.
Councilor. I've talked about this, repealing this ordinance a few times now, so I'm not going to belabor the point. But in a nutshell, I'm just going to say that the developers are exploiting the ordinance to get their approvals and then dodge having to install the stackers by way of waivers from the ZBA. Therefore, the policy's failing its original intent to ensure adequate parking. In effect, it's being used as a loophole. But what I do want to speak to tonight is the argument that I heard during the last meeting, which is that the one building in the city that has installed these stackers will suffer a decrease in property value due to it becoming a non-conforming structure if this ordinance is repealed. The argument is meritless and is merely a distraction from the bigger issue here, that developers aren't delivering on promised parking, which undermines public trust and neighborhood livability. Property values are not solely dictated by conformance to current zoning. It's influenced by a mix of factors: location, market demand, functionality, and how the property stacks up against other properties in the area. Non-conforming structures do not inherently tank value, especially if the structure remains functional and marketable. We have a ton of properties in Revere that are non-conforming, and their values are not decreased as a result. Somerville, for example, at least 20 to 25% of its housing stock is non-conforming, yet values are sky high due to demand. We're very much like Somerville in that proximity to Boston and also our demand for housing here. So in contrast, I would argue that if the stackers function and provide parking, which is a rare commodity in the city, they could actually boost the property's value and appeal. We often see that a uniqueness in a property actually increases the value, but the bottom line here is, speaking from an appraisal point of view, claims of property values, whether increasing or decreasing, need to be backed by evidence by way of appraisal. So without having any appraisals, these are just mere assertions. Therefore, the argument falls short and cannot be given any consideration. I hope that this committee, will favorably vote on this repeal and give a favorable recommendation to the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Kelly. I'll try not to take offense because I was the person who offered that suggestion, and I didn't know I needed to back it up with evidence. But what it does, in my mind, is the favorable developer gets the relief and the others don't. So that's a whole nother issue that we need to deal with in zoning on all these boards. But I don't believe I'm going to have the votes to stop this, even though I think my argument does have merit. But needless to say, anybody else have anything to add to this? Oh, I think I have somebody in the audience who wants to speak.
Marcia Ragusa, 29 Rumney Road. Yes, I've done extended research on this.
You did name and address for the
I
record?
did.
I'm sorry. Did you get her name?
Did you get it? I think you were speaking.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
This is a problem throughout the country. I've done some research. They're highly dangerous when they're tenant operated. If it's operated by someone who's trained to do it, I read about someone losing their leg in California, somebody losing their fingers in another, I think it was Chicago. Look at the safety, irrespective of the property. It's the tenants we're protecting.
I appreciate it. We've had all this debate for months on
It's okay,
safety
I'm new
of
at
these.
this.
And we know if they're operated without strict rules and regulations, they could be very dangerous. But that's neither here nor there. But thank you very much for your input. Okay, so in that case, we'll take a roll call vote with the conditions of the planning board, which,
Just to confirm, the planning board issued a favorable recommendation for the
Okay,
city
so-
council to adopt this. But,
that might help somebody
Yeah.
vote for it or whatever.
So shall the zoning subcommittee offer a favorable recommendation to the full city council to approve the ordinance repealing mechanical parking definition and use? Counselor Agenzio?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Jaramillo?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. And Chairman Zambudo?
No.
No, the mechanical parking ordinance repeal has received a favorable recommendation and will be forwarded to the full city council this evening. Next up is a special permit application of Joshua Recycling, 12 Furlong Drive, requesting a special permit from the Revere City Council so as to permit a contractor storage yard use within the TED District at 12 Furlong Drive.
Name and address, please.
Good afternoon, Niles Welch, on behalf of the applicant, Joshua Recycling, 136 Prospect Ave in Revere. I come here today for the application for special permit for occupancy at 12 Furlong Drive. By way of background, my client last appeared here before the City Council on January 27th, where there were a number of issues that were raised by the City Council with respect to the way in which that property and location was being managed, specifically cleaned up. I do have an update to provide the zoning subcommittee today. There has been extensive cleaning and refurbishing and decluttering of the location. We were fortunate enough actually to have the local ward councilor, Councilor McKenna, was generous enough to come visit the site and did a complete walkthrough with myself as well as the landlord. I won't speak for the councilor. However, I do believe the feedback that we received was generally very positive. Seeing how the location's been cleaned up, it's been decluttered, and it's been maintained since the last time that it was officially inspected by the city. And I'll say, as the council has stated, we just want to see you succeed with the words, which was extremely grateful to hear that and being supportive towards fostering economic activity for everybody in the city. And just by way of background in terms of the operation, this business operates in the junk waste removal business. They go out, they collect waste materials at other locations, and then they, time permitting, deliver those materials directly to the appropriate dump site. It doesn't come back to 12 Furlong Drive. In some occasions, the materials are brought back to, if it's after business hours, they have about 10 open-top containers stored there in order to store those materials temporarily until those materials are then taken away to the appropriate dump site. That in its entirety is the scope of the enterprise at 12 Furlong Drive. There are 0 materials currently being stored on the ground, and we're currently working actually to ensure that there are no materials being stored or no storage, anything being stored anywhere in closer proximity to the back fence area, which abuts the Sales Creek, which has come up on a number of different occasions with local conservation. There is no evidence currently of any dumping of materials going on. I have consulted with the landlord regarding some abutting tenants. It's my understanding that there is an abutting tenant at 14 Furlong Drive that is not going to be there much longer, as my understand, is going through an eviction process. And so we are hopeful that some of the issues related to the way in which the property is being managed, maintained on the day-to-day basis, that in and of itself, if a new tenant goes in, would inherently enhance the location as well. So again, we're currently working to address all those issues. I would say in large part, as far as the overall cleaning up and decluttering. That is mostly complete, as the ward counselor was with us when we walked through the location last week. But we are going to be doing some follow-ups as well with the Conservation Commission in order to ensure that any concerns that are being addressed by Conservation are being remedied both in the short term and in the long term. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I guess we'll take audience members
Thank
first.
you.
Council McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I worked the perimeter with everybody and found the site to be very, very, very clean. There's no open containers. All the open containers are gone. 60 feet from the creek, there's nothing. He had a motor vehicle there, and it was about, I don't know, maybe 5 feet over the line, and I told him he had to move it because of the oil. This is construction recycling. It's not oil or liquid-based, so it's construction. So he does have open dumpsters that he's going to put the recycling construction stuff in, but it's 60 feet from the creek, and that was the biggest concern. He cleaned it up. I mean, it looks beautiful. It really does. I mean, it's so clean. And even inside, I went inside, he's going to get some new doors, so the property's going to be in really nice condition. So I approve this tonight. And before my last, when he came up here, I was kind of rough with him, but he really did do a great job, so thank you.
Thank you, Council McKenna. As always, you get the best out of everybody, and the other night, I didn't think there was any chance you'd ever approve this, so they've gone way out of their way to get you on board, so. Any councilors? Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I know this location. I've driven by it before. I have a concern. Number one, I would like to put a limit of that 60 feet in the agreement that they don't put anything back there within that 60 feet of the creek. But I have a concern. It's nice now. I'm concerned about the future. And I just have a serious, serious issue. And I'm leery. I'm very leery about letting this go through. And, with all due respect to Council McKenna, I know that's her ward, but I've seen things happen before, and they get out of control. And I want to know what would happen if they did get out of control. Then we have to go through inspectional services and go through the whole rigmarole to try and get them to clean it up again. So, I'm on the fence right now. I'm not sure yet.
May I answer his question? So with the walk-around, I told him that I would come down every 3 months to inspect his property, and I will do that. And where there is a fence that blocks the creek, and he does have a shield on it, so no debris can go through that fence. It's a chain link fence, so he has a mesh over it, so nothing can go through that onto the creek. But I did say that I would come down every 3 months just to make sure he's doing the right thing, so.
Thank you, Councilor. You want to add to that? I mean,
I do, and, my question is that fence abutting the creek directly, or is that the 60-foot easement? I'm calling it an easement, but a 60-foot easement before the creek, so I'm just very cautious.
So dock was there. So this property doesn't have anything like that. It has a couple of trucks and maybe 12 dumpsters, and Ashley, the clerk just said it was 25 feet from the creek. But like I said, it doesn't abut the creek. There's a hill, then it levels off, then there's the fence. So it would take a lot to put something in the creek. You'd have to throw it over the fence And I don't think they're going to do that. They don't have those kinds of materials. So, thank you.
Since there's no other councilors that want to speak, you want to read the conditions into the record?
The conditions for the special permit, if approved, were submitted by site plan review as follows. All property owned by the applicant, including parcels 6-120B-9, 6-120B-10, and 6-120B-11, which are adjacent to the natural resource known as Green Creek, shall not be allowed to store any materials or equipment within 25 feet of the bank of Green Creek. No material shall be stockpiled on the site. There shall be no hazardous materials stored on the site as determined by the Revere Fire Department and Board of Health and as characterized by the Department of Environmental Protection. There shall be no unregistered or junk vehicles stored on the site. A 6-foot-high chain-link fence shall be installed in the rear of the property, at least 25 feet from the creek bank, to prevent any further impact to the adjacent natural resource area. The parking and storage area in the rear of the building shall consist of permeable material. An operation and maintenance plan for the use of the site shall be filed with the Revere Conservation Commission, Building Department, and Board of Health prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit. The final site plan shall be reviewed and approved by the Site Plan Review Committee and Fire Department prior to the issuance of any occupancy permit. A final stamped site plan showing the location of all dumpsters and parking on the site shall be included in the occupancy permit, and the applicant shall perform all cleanup of the site and along the banks of Green Creek and provide erosion and sediment control measures, as well as fulfill all conditions in compliance with the Conservation Commission Order of Conditions.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Council Novoselsky.
just, first of all, did you say no unregistered vehicles on the property within that?
Yes.
Okay. Question through you to the attorney, is there going to be a gate and a fence around the property to stop anybody going in to dump illegally?
Currently, there is fencing around the property, although I'm not, there are points of ingress at the front-facing part of the property that people can walk into the yard at this point, so we can certainly take a look at that.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, because now what's going to happen, someone's going to go in and do some illegal dumping, and you guys are going to get blamed for it, and then, but you're going to be responsible for cleaning it up. And I'm just trying to be a little proactive and trying to avoid that.
We can certainly take a look at implementing some mitigation measure to prevent that from happening.
Good, thank you.
Okay. On the permit with the conditions as read.
Shall the zoning subcommittee offer favorable recommendation to grant the relief requested to the full city council? Councilor Agenzio?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes,
Yes. And Chairman Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes, the special permit has received a favorable recommendation with conditions.
Thank you to the body.
Thank you, sir.
Next up is the special permit application of Nick Dare, 375 Broadway, requesting a special permit from the Revere City Council to enable the appellant to expand an existing nonconforming use and structure for the conversion of a 5-unit structure to a 6-unit structure at 30 Campbell Avenue.
Good evening. Name and address for the record.
Good evening. Nick Dare, 375 Broadway. One moment, please. Thank you, City Councilmen and women. I am here tonight requesting a special permit. I am looking to add a 2-bedroom apartment to an existing 5-unit structure at 30 Campbell Ave, as well as adding 4 parking spaces. I purchased the distressed property back in August of 2024. Since then, I've addressed a lot of the exterior concerns. I've abated the asbestos. I've added new vinyl siding. I've done the windows. I've removed the trash. And now I'm looking forward to addressing the interior concerns. This is today's state. The 2-bedroom apartment that I'd be requesting to add is not going to alter any of the existing exterior structure. It's not going to change the height. It's not going to change the existing footprint. Where the two-bedroom apartment will go now is in the third floor unfinished space that's already dormered out. Adequate ceiling height, great dormers, and a great space for a moderate 720 square foot two-bedroom apartment. And this being the unfinished space that I am looking to finish. As well as the floor plan. Now, in the current state, it is a 5-unit structure with 2 existing parking. Adding this 6th unit, I'd also be looking to add 4 additional parking spaces, which came to a pleasant surprise and was very welcomed by the neighborhood meeting that the ward councilman and I had prior to this meeting. And also, by doing this 6th unit, it will trigger code upgrades that I'll be happy and welcome. Code upgrades such as sprinkler systems, central fire alarm system, proper egresses, things that should have been addressed a long time ago that went untaken care of, and things that would just make me feel better doing so, even though it's going to be a big expense, but it's just going to make me feel better about the property. And the biggest thing, as mentioned, the biggest concern to the neighbors and abutters was the parking. So as I mentioned, it was only 2 parking to begin with. Currently, there's 2 vacant units, so we're not seeing that overflow yet. Assuming I were to rent it as a 5-unit, as soon as I move in the tenants, we would expect the overflow, which would go out to Overlook and Campbell. So as you can see, the 4, and then I can show you on the plot plan where the additional 4 units would be going, parking spaces, sorry. And that is where how the 4 additional spaces will be utilized. So as mentioned, I'm looking to add a moderate 2-bedroom apartment in an existing space that's currently unfinished. In doing so, I'll be adding those 4 spaces and bringing the property up to code, making it safer for residents, tenants, first responders, and really attracting a great clientele of tenant, which is really important to me as a landlord and property manager. Thank you for your time. I'd be happy to answer any questions or concerns.
Thank you very much. Councilors? Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Nick and I have been working on this for several months, and we did have the community meeting and down at the Revere Police Station community room, and 3 residents came in and they were all in favor of it. The one resident that we had a problem with actually called me the other day and wanted to apologize for when she came up to speak here against it. And she was under the impression it was a different building. So it was explained to her in a different way and she didn't understand it. But now that she knows it's really not adjacent or abutting her property, she has no problem with, with what's going to happen. And she was actually kind of pleased knowing that there was additional parking going to happen on it. But the building has been upgraded, and I've been watching the upgrading over the last 6 or 7 months. And I know people that have lived in the building, and they're very pleased there, and they were. I think Paula's still there?
Yeah.
And I hear from her almost every day, not necessarily on this, but on a couple other things. But I have no problem with it. I think it's going to be a bonus for the neighborhood, and I'm looking forward to hopefully the council passing this and endorsing it in the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. You've obviously won over the ward councilor, but you certainly won us all over, I believe, because this is the kind of rehab we want. And you added 4 parking spaces, you added sprinklers, you brought everything up to code. You couldn't ask for a better project. Not that I'm biased, but you certainly won me over. Conditions?
Chairman, 3 conditions. Conditions submitted by site plan reviewer as follows. 1, the property shall be brought into compliance with building, electrical, plumbing, and fire codes for all units. The fire plans shall be approved by the site plan review committee. I'm sorry, the final plans, not fire. And the plans must be reviewed and approved by the fire department for fire suppression systems. Shall the zoning subcommittee offer a favorable recommendation to grant the relief requested subject to those conditions? Councilor Agenzio?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Guarino Swaya.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Jaramillo.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes, and Chairman Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes, the special permit has received a favorable recommendation.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have the special permit application of Edvin Bala, 48 Derby Road, Revere, Mass., requesting a special permit from the Revere City Council to enable the appellant to raise the existing nonconforming structure and construct a new 4-story mixed-use building within the same footprint, consisting of a 2-story restaurant on the ground and second floors and 2 residential units on the 3rd and 4th floors, 1 apartment per floor, at 63-64 Revere Beach Boulevard.
Good evening.
Name and address, please.
Florian Luca, 45 Malcolm Road, Boston. So I don't know if you recall, what we have here is we have the property at Nick's Pizza, because I understand everybody knows what Nick's place is. So we propose to demolish the building and replace it with a new structure, 4-story tall. The first 2 stories being a new restaurant, and the top two stories being a 1-bedroom apartment each. The biggest, our biggest problems. Sorry, too close. Yeah. The current zoning requires a minimum lot of 25,000 square feet, and our lot is only 1,159 square feet. So we're really tight for all the dimensional dimensional requirements, especially setbacks and parking. And that's why we came to you to ask for a special permit for relief on the setbacks and the required parking. We are a little bit over the FAR as well, and that also will require a relief from the council. So I can answer any questions that you might have. I can show you some more.
Any councilors? Councilor Argenzio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Currently, Nick's Pizzeria does not have any parking for their establishment now, so that won't change. And the residents will be parking on Ocean Avenue?
Yes.
Okay. Do we know, do we issue parking permits for Ocean Avenue? Is that's the DCR? So that isn't a concern of ours.
Okay.
So I don't know if they have a permit parking system.
I'm not sure of that, but it is DCR property, yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm all set.
Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How many apartments is this going to be?
2 apartments.
Just 2 one-bedroom?
1 bedrooms, yeah.
2 one-bedroom apartments. And it's how many floors?
4.
2 one-bedroom apartments, 4 floors.
Yes. The
Okay.
first 2 floors of the restaurant and
And the 2 above it,
above it, yeah.
but that makes 3 floors.
Ground floor.
Ground floor?
First floor,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other councilors?
52.
Councilor Novoselsky?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I'm guessing there's going to be an elevator in it,
For the restaurant, yes.
just for the restaurant?
Yes. Yeah. We're not required to have for those 2 residential units.
Oh, I thought it
Because
was-
we're under, sorry?
I thought it was the whole building. If it was more than 3, it had to have an elevator.
If there's more than 3 dwelling units. Yeah.
So it's going to be a regular elevator or just a lift?
A regular elevator. So we'll go from the basement, serve the basement, the first floor, and the restaurant, yeah.
He's going to have storage down below?
Yes.
All the way, there'll be no parking under there at all?
There is no room.
Not even 1 or 2 spaces for him?
Just,
Nothing at all.
like I said, the footprint is 1,100 square feet.
Yeah.
There's just no way to get anything in there.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Madam Clerk? Conditions, please.
Conditions submitted to the City Council from the Site Plan Review Committee. 1, the applicant shall confirm with DCR any and all conservation easements that may have been placed on this property by the former Metropolitan District Commission and prior to proceeding to design review with the Site Plan Review Committee and Revere Beach Design Review Board. 2, a sewer connection and water connection permit must be obtained from the DPW for new construction on 64 Revere Beach Boulevard. The city engineer and DPW superintendent must review and approve the proposed sewer service and water service plan, as well as stormwater management plan. 3, the building design and materials plan, as well as the landscaping and streetscape plan, shall be approved by the Revere Beach Design Review Board and the City of Revere Site Plan Review Committee. And 4, the proposed restaurant shall include accommodations for outdoor cafe seating on Revere Beach Boulevard, subject to the approval of the DCR. Shall the zoning subcommittee offer a favorable recommendation to grant the relief requested, subject to those conditions? Counselor Argenzio?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Jaramillo?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes, and Chairman Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes, the special permit has received
Good
a
one.
favorable recommendation. No further business.
This committee will stand adjourned.